आप्यायन्तु ममङ्गानि वाक्प्राणचक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्यां मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणम् अस्त्वनिराकरणं मेस्तु तदात्मनि निरते य उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May my limbs, speech, vital force, eyes, ears, as also strength and all the organs become well developed. Everything is the Brahman revealed in the Upanishads. May I not deny Brahman. May not Brahman deny me. Let there be no spurning of me by Brahman. Let there be no rejection of Brahman by me. May all the virtues that are spoken of in the Upanishads repose in me, who am engaged in the pursuit of the self. May they repose in me. Om, peace, peace, peace. So, the Kena Upanishad, we have in a way scaled the peak, the Everest peak, Pratibodha Viditam Matam. That mantra we were doing, that in every experience, Brahman is revealed, this endless ocean of light, and is revealed as you in every experience. That is life. Life is the continuous shining forth of Brahman, and you are that Brahman. The mantra itself was Pratibodha Viditam Matam Amritatvam Hi Vindate Atmana Vindate Viryam Vidyaya Vindate Amritam. Brahman is really known when it is known as the self of each state of experience, because thereby one gets immortality. Since through one's own self is acquired strength, therefore through knowledge is attained immortality. All right. So all this time we have been doing the first quarter of this mantra, Pratibodha Viditam Matam. What is full enlightenment? Matam. What is full realization, enlightenment? Pratibodha Viditam. When Brahman is realized effortlessly, choicelessly, it shines forth in every experience. It's there for the recognition. It's always available to us, freely available to us. It's what Swami Vivekananda calls the open secret. Now, that is called matam. That means that's true realization. What's the result of that? Amritatvam hi vindate. You attain immortality. Attainment of immortality here, of course, as a result of that knowledge, it just means that your nature as Brahman is immortal. That awareness is always there. It cannot be destroyed by anything. It is not born. It does not originate, nor will it ever cease. So we overcome mortality by that realization. Swami Vivekananda, when he came to the West, he would often quote these soaring, sublime lines from the Upanishads. He would introduce Vedanta with these lines. Listen, ye children of immortal bliss, even the gods who dwell on high. What is the message? I have realized that infinite being, blazing forth like the sun, forever beyond darkness. By knowing that, one goes beyond death. Shrinvantu Vishwe Amritasya Putraha Aye Dhamani Divyani Tastu Vedaham Purusham Mahantam Aditya Varnam Tamasah Parastat Tameva Viditva Ati Mrityumeti Nanyah Pantha Vidyate Ayanaya. Notice, by realizing that infinite being, one goes beyond death. And that is what is being said here. One attains immortality means one realizes one's already existing immortal nature. And one sees that one is truly beyond death. See, when we identify with this body, when we think we are just this person, before any philosophy, before any spirituality, before any religion, it's natural to think, I am this body and this body is me. Who am I? What am I? This thing. And what is this thing? It's me. It is I. So this close identification with the body, we become tied to its fortunes. When the body is born, that is, we don't say body is born, I am born. When the body ages, I am getting old. When the body sickens, I am getting sick. When the body dies, I am dying. Nothing further. Death is the one certain guaranteed end for all of us if we think we are the body, because that is the end of the body. Body has come from these 5 elements, from this nature. It will go back to nature. Ashes to ashes, earth to earth, it will go back. When we become religious, when we become spiritual, we are slowly introduced to the fact that we are not bodies. We are the self, the Atman, the soul, the immortal soul. We are not born with the birth of this body. We do not end with the death of this body, but our spiritual journey continues. And then we have conceptions of heaven and hell and future births. The Indian religions, Hinduism especially, but also Sikhism and Buddhism and Jainism, all the Indian religions talk about multiple existences, many, many lives stretching back to the unknown past and many, many lives stretching forward. And if you are a good boy or girl, you get to go to a heaven after death and you get a nice birth afterwards. If one is naughty, then one goes to hell after death and might get a very bad, very birth full of suffering. Shankaracharya will speak about that in the next mantra. This is the idea we get about religion. Even in the other religions, the Abrahamic faiths, everywhere, even if they do not have the conception, they do not agree that there's multiple births. But I think that's just a small difference, because the moment you agree that you exist after death, there is a state after death. Multiple lifetimes is just an extension. It's just a footnote after that. So all religions agree we exist after death, but that's no solution at all. Life still goes on, and we are embodied in various ways, going to heaven or hell. Now, Vedanta says the ultimate liberation, the liberations, immortality, is not gained by either these two. Being ignorant, worldly, and just identified by the body, we are very mortal. When the body dies, we die. That's it. Even if I'm not identified with the body, I at least believe, I at least subscribe to the belief that I have an immortal soul. Even that does not take me beyond mortality, because I've just signed up for multiple deaths then. Many births and many deaths. I will take birth in different bodies and then age and die again and again and again and repeat and repeat and repeat. So that's not a solution to the problem of mortality. Vedanta says there is a solution. There is a freedom from mortality. There is an liberation from this prison of mortality. And that is, there is an infinite being, a limitless being, which is immortal. When you realize that, then you go beyond mortality. You go beyond all consequent sorrows of birth and aging and sorrow and disease and separation. So that is the whole proposition. Tameva viditva ati mrityumeti. By knowing that, one goes beyond death. And Vedanta goes further and says, knowing that is knowing yourself, because you are that, tattvamasi. When we know that, we realize, oh, it is I. I am. I means the real I, not this little creature. I am beyond death. I am immortal. In fact, I am the reality of the entire universe, Sat, being itself, existence itself. Here, Vivekananda talks about it in such powerful terms. It's from this book, Inspired Talks. Some of his choicest teachings are here. It's saying the same thing, but notice the freshness and the vigor of the language, the delivery of it. Vivekananda says, of whom shall I beg? I am the real existence, and all else is a dream. I am the whole ocean. Do not call the little wave you have made I. Know it for nothing but a wave. So he says, I am this ocean of being. I am this ocean of awareness. And that little wave which I have made, which you have made, what is the little wave? This personality. It's a little wave in the ocean. Oh, yeah, I say, all right, but I am a little wave. No, you are the ocean. You are being itself, your awareness itself. This little body, this little life is a little wave. It has arisen out of you. It exists in you. It shall finally disappear back into you. You are neither increased by its appearance of this body and this life, nor are you decreased or diminished when this body inevitably will die. It is nothing to you. Do not call that wave you have made I. I, the real meaning of I, is the whole ocean, not that little wave. And this ocean is that pratibodh, it's continuously revealed to us. Pratibodha viditam. This ocean is being always revealed to us. This, look around. In every seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, every thinking, every imagination, every desire, every pain, every pleasure, every good intention, every ignoble thought, one consciousness is illumining it all. They're all waves arising and disappearing back into one consciousness, which we obviously are all the time. So this pratibodha viditam, this ocean I am, Vivekananda says, and so this is attainment of immortality. Now, the next line, this is the consequence of this knowledge. Notice also that this immortality is our own nature. It's the nature of that ocean. It is immortal. Body is not immortal. Even the subtle body which goes through many births and deaths is not really immortal because it experiences multiple births and deaths. But the ocean does not experience origination. Ocean does not experience cessation. This limitless ocean of existence consciousness which I am does not have an origin, does not have it cannot. It cannot. Things appear and disappear to it, in it, but it does not appear or disappear. It cannot. So I am that, and what this knowledge does, it just removes the ignorance. It just is a gust of wind which removes the cloud which was obscuring the sun, and the sun shines forth. It was always shining forth. Not that the knowledge makes you immortal. You are immortal already. The knowledge removes the misconception that I am not immortal. Why did I have that misconception? Because first and foremost, the ignorance, the cloud, hid this vast ocean of existence being from me. The ignorance hid it. And that being hidden, I experience this little wave, which is most obvious, which I call my life. And being identified with this body and this mind, I obviously say, I am born and I shall die. And so mortality is my lot. I think and I feel, I believe, it seems obvious to me that I'm mortal. And knowledge comes and removes this ignorance, like a gust of wind removing the dark cloud. The sun was always shining forth. The open secret. Now, the next line of the Upanishad says something interesting. Now we are over the peak. The climax has been reached. We are over the peak, the Mount Everest. Now we're going into the sunlit valley beyond. In the valley, we find the first line we come across is Atmana vindate viryam vidyaya vindate amritam. By the self is gained the strength, the power, the potency, and by knowledge is gained immortality. What does that mean? Think about it this way. I'll give you two meanings. First, let me give you the preliminary meaning, which is pretty easy, but then the more subtle meaning, which Shankaracharya unveils for us. First, the straightforward meaning. By the self is gained strength or fitness, and by knowledge is gained immortality. By the Atman, by the self. Now, the self, the word Atman, can be interpreted in multiple ways. In fact, in Sanskrit, the word Atman is used as the body. The body is also called the Atman. The mind is also called the Atman. This person I am, the sentient being, what Vivekananda would call a little wave, that is also called the Atman. And the real Atman, Brahman, is also called the Atman. Now, if we take the mind to be the Atman, then the line becomes, by the Atman is gained strength or fitness, by the mind is, by the self, which means the mind, in the mind, by the mind is gained fitness or strength, and then comes knowledge, and we realize our immortality. So what is meant by the mind getting fitness? Here the reference is to the fourfold qualifications. We know in Vedanta the fourfold qualifications, Viveka, Vairagya, Shamadamadi, Shat Sampatti, Mumukshutvam cha. That means the discernment or discrimination between the eternal and the non-eternal, a strong, solid conviction, decision to turn away from the non-eternal, to turn away from worldliness, turn away from materiality. And then the sixfold treasures, six treasures which are necessary for spiritual life in the path of Vedanta. Shamaha, mental quietude. Damaha, control of the body and the organs, sense organs and motor organs. Then Titiksha, a spiritual toughness, that I shall persist on the spiritual path in spite of all difficulties. This is all that I will do. This will be my central quest. Until enlightenment, this is what I will pursue. So this ability to withstand the vicissitudes of life, this is titiksha, toughness, fortitude, forbearance, patience. Then uparati, inward, turning inward. This continuous flowing outwards is called rati, and the turning inwards, turning away from a life of continual merrymaking or chasing power, pleasure, money, turning away from that. Our precious time and energy is devoted to spiritual life. So uparati is this reversal. Literally, it means reversing the outgoing, the enjoyment-seeking nature of the mind and the senses. Uparati, turning inwards. Then that gives you time and energy now that you have turned inwards. So the time and energy should be used for spiritual practice. That is called samadhana, focus. Stay with it. Focus, devote more time to your study, to your devotional practices, to your meditation, to your self-inquiry. Devote time and energy to it. This is samadhana, focus. Stay with Vedanta. Then Shraddha, a deep faith. And this faith is very powerful. Even though I don't get it, even if I am clearly not enlightened, people have become enlightened. These texts are telling me the truth. So I have deep faith in the teachings of the Upanishads, the teacher, and the experiences of enlightened beings throughout history. And so deep faith in that, conviction in that, Shraddha. Then there is mumukshutvam, an intense desire for freedom. Did I get all 6? Shama, Dhamma, Titiksha, Uparati, Samadhana, Shraddha. Yes, 6. And the final of the 4th is intense desire for freedom. If all these first 3 are practiced and developed, the 4th one will come of itself. We have a mild case of desire for freedom now that will be intensified when the earlier practices, the first 3, Viveka, Vairagya, and Shamadhamadi Shat Sampati, those can be practiced, those can be intensified. The more we intensify it, the real hunger for enlightenment will come. Then this is called fitness, viryam, potency, power, strength. And this can be gained and should be gained in the mind. Then we become fit for enlightenment. Then the knowledge arises. I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi, it will arise. And it will be manifest effortlessly to me in all experiences. Pratibodha viditam. It will Brahman or Atman, that I am this awareness in which the universe floats like a shadow. I am this awareness. That will become clear to me. There won't be any more doubt about it. So this is the preliminary meaning. Meaning of what? Atmana vindate viryam, vidyaya vindate amritam. By the self is attained fitness or strength, and by the knowledge is attained immortality. But this is not the meaning actually which Shankaracharya unfolds before us. And if you see literally also this is not the meaning. Literally it means by the Atman is gained strength, and or from the Atman comes strength, and from knowledge comes immortality. So from the Atman, it does not say there explicitly that here we mean by the Atman the mind. So far they were talking about Atman as consciousness, as Brahman. So from Brahman or Atman comes the strength, and from there comes the knowledge which gives us immortality. What does this mean? So look at it this way. Make a division. What we do at the beginning of Vedantic inquiry, the self and the not self. Atma, Anatma. Self and not self. Notice in our experience, everything is an object to consciousness. Everything can be classified as this. In Sanskrit, idam, this. This world before me. This cloth which I'm wearing. And indeed, this body which I'm embodied in. And this breath, this feeling, this emotion, this thought, this idea, this memory, all of it, this. And I dismiss it all. Suppose I dismiss everything, blank, nothing, darkness, this blankness, this. So the whole world of the not self is presented to me as this, and none of it is me because it's presented to me. It's an object to me. And I am the Atman, the self, this consciousness. This is the first thing we do in Vedanta. It's not the end, but it's the first thing that we do. This separation into self and not self, Atman, Anatma, I and this, Aham, Idam. And the whole world of experience, whatever is experienced, is thrown into the basket, the category of this. Now, notice, the whole category of this is infected with mortality, with change. Everything that we categorize as this changes. It's limited. It comes and goes. It arises and disappears. It's created and destroyed. It is experienced and then not experienced anymore. So the whole category of the not self is infected with mortality. All right, so then the next question will be, did you say by self-knowledge you get immortality? Yes, Upanishad said by self-knowledge, vidyaya vindate amrita pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam hi vindate. If you realize the Atman in every experience, by that knowledge, and the Upanishad says by vidyaya, by knowledge, by realization, immortality is gained. So one may ask a subtle question here. Is this knowledge, is it in the category of the self, of the Atman, of the I, or is it in the category of the not self, the category of the this? Can one say this self-knowledge? Actually, one can. The self-knowledge is a moment of enlightenment. It does arise, and it arises in the mind. And as we have all been talking, stuff like there's a dark cloud which covers the sun, a gust of wind comes and removes the dark cloud. Where is the wind? In the sky where the cloud is. Wherever the cloud is, there the wind has to be. Otherwise, the wind cannot remove the cloud. Similarly, where is ignorance? In our minds. Where does this knowledge arise? In our minds. It is a special kind of knowledge, and we have investigated why it is special. All the issues of vritti, vyapti, phala vyapti, all that. But still, it is in the mind. The knowledge arises in the mind. It is in the category of the not self. Even Brahmajnana. After all, Advaita will be quite happy with this, because Advaita does not say there are ultimately two realities, the self and self-knowledge, Brahman and knowledge of Brahman. No. That was the whole issue of discussion, subtle discussion, when the teacher tried to trap the student by saying that, have you realized Brahman? Are you a person who has got the knowledge? Are you something which has the knowledge of the self? And the student answered it and cleverly evaded the trap. So you cannot claim that self-knowledge belongs to the category of self, Atman, Brahman. It is beyond mortality. No, self-knowledge also belongs to the category of the object, of this, of not self, of anatma. All it does, and there's nothing wrong in it, all it does is it removes a problem in the anatma. The problem in the anatma is the problem of ignorance, and that is removed by knowledge. That's fine. But the question now will be, how can something infected with mortality give you immortality? Did you not just say self-knowledge gives us immortality? Self-knowledge itself is mortal. How can it make you or give you? How can you attain immortality through something which is mortal itself, which is in the category of the not self? Do you see the problem? It's a subtle question. And so, by this question, something very important is revealed. What is revealed is self-knowledge removes the ignorance about my own nature and shows me I am this limitless existence consciousness, and shows me, how does it show me? Blazingly, in every experience it is revealed to me. Now, here's the subtle, the crux of it. What is useful after self-knowledge is not that self-knowledge. It's not the jnana, it's not the enlightenment. The moment it is revealed to you that you are Atman or Brahman, you take a stand on Atman or Brahman. All your confidence, your strength, your purity, your joy comes from the Atman or Brahman, not from the Atman itself, not from the self-knowledge. The self-knowledge was used only to show that you are the Atman. Once that is available, it's like the gust of wind which removed the cloud and the sun shines forth. Now, do you want to hold on to the gust of wind? That's very important. I can't let it go. No, what is important is the sun. Take your stand there. I am Atman, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham. I am Satchidananda, being itself, consciousness itself. I am the ocean itself. That's why this is one variety of the problem. When people talk about realization, they we give so much value to realization. Of course, we should give value, but then we overestimate its value. We make it more valuable than Brahman, more valuable than the ultimate reality. Um, so after realizing I'm Brahman, I must hold on to that realization. It seems quite obvious. Yes, I must. That's such a valuable thing. I worked so hard for it. Now I have got it. I have got the realization I'm Brahman. I must hold on to it, like hold it close to my chest. Don't let it fly away anymore. Not necessary. You don't want to be a person, the same old person who was a spiritual seeker. Now I have got the prize and I am the champion. I've won the gold medal and now I want to clutch the gold medal to my heart. I want to hold on to this self-knowledge. I want to be this guy with self-knowledge. Earlier I was this ignorant guy. Now I want to be this guy with self-knowledge. No, 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 no. Don't. Let it go. Its work is done. Its task is done. So I am Brahman. That has been revealed to me. And it requires no effort at all to maintain that. Now you relax into your real nature. As Vivekananda says, let me read out again, is such a vigorous expression. Of whom shall I beg? Shall I be anxious to hold on to self-knowledge? I am Brahman, and that will give me immortality. No, 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 no. I am the real existence, and all else is a dream. This universe, indeed, with this little body, this little mind, and its little enlightenment, all of it is a dream. The only thing that is true is you, the one real existence. Do not call the little wave you have made I. This little body mind, don't call it I. Now earlier I was this ignorant I, spiritual seeker I. Now I am the enlightened I. No, no, no. Not this. I am Atman. I am Brahman. No, it is nothing but a wave. Then you realize the benefit from that. So the strength for immortality comes from the self, which is immortal. Everything in the not self, in the category of the idam, this is mortal, infected with mortality. And you are right, O questioner, that self-knowledge belongs to the category of the mortal. It belongs to the category of the this, and that does not make you immortal. The strength, the potency, the power for immortality comes from the self itself, from Atma, from Brahman. Atmana vindate viryam. And because that Atma is revealed to you, is practically, we did not know it, it did not seem to be there earlier. Now it is clear, and that's because of self-knowledge. And in that sense, self-knowledge gives us immortality. Now the line is clear. Atmana vindate viryam. From the self, from the Atman, from existence, consciousness, bliss, comes the power from which we get immortality. Because the Atman is immortal. And because knowledge reveals ourself to be this Atman, therefore we say knowledge gives immortality. So strength comes from the Atman. Vivekananda, interestingly, all throughout, this is one reason I teach Advaita Vedanta, is it gives strength. Strength in what sense? It gives strength derived from our real nature. Enough strength is there to overcome every problem in the world. I am that exists. Is there a pain in the body? Is there creeping age and decrepitude? And I remember our senior most member in our Vedanta society, Bill, who is 100 years this year. So he was in the senior center, and his complaint was, at that time he was 99. He said, everybody here is so old. So he was 99, and his complaint was everybody else is so old. You will feel I am the immortal existence. Let the body go through its, the wave has arisen, wave will subside. It's really nothing to me. It is not the end of the road at all for me. It's the end of the road for the body. So then what will my life be like? Again, I'm quoting from Vivekananda. Body identification, an identification with my real nature, the realization that I am this immortal existence, consciousness, bliss. The difference. So Ingersoll, who was the great agnostic, he was a well-known public figure in late 19th century United States. He would give talks, a public intellectual, a bit like Sam Harris or somebody like that today. So Ingersoll met Swami Vivekananda and said, so this Swami Vivekananda himself quotes, this is Swami Vivekananda in 1895, so he must have already met Ingersoll before this. So he is quoting, Ingersoll once said to me, I believe in making the most of this world, in squeezing the orange dry, because this world is all we are sure of. Yeah. What is the mistake here from a Vedantic perspective? There are two things we are sure of. Everything in the category of this, which is right, this world. But also that to which this is appearing. I, the awareness, I, the undeniable existence, to which the entire world is, this so-called category of this is appearing. He's missing that. He's just looking at this world. And this is all that I'm sure of. What about himself? He hasn't even considered it. He's quite sure I am this guy, this body, I am this person called Ingersoll, and therefore subject to death. This world is all we are sure of. I replied, Vivekananda says, I know a better way to squeeze the orange of this world than you do. And I get more of it. I get more out of it. I know, he emphasizes, I know I cannot die. So I am not in a hurry. I know there is no fear. So I enjoy the squeezing. I have no duty, no bondage of wife and children and property. I can love all men and women. Everyone is God to me. Think of the joy of loving man as God. Squeeze your orange this way and get 10,000-fold more out of it. Get every single drop. So what are the consequences of this knowledge, this enlightenment? He says, first of all, I know I cannot die. Fear of death is gone. Amritatvam hi vindate, attainment of immortality. The result is, I am not in a hurry anymore. Whatever time is remaining to me in this body, I'll enjoy every bit of it, the ups and downs, all of it, knowing that there is no hurry at all. Second, I know I cannot die, so I'm not in a hurry. Second is, I have no fear. This is the consequence of enlightenment. There's no fear of anything at all. What are you there to be, what are we going to be afraid of? None of it, nothing here is other than you. Everything that appears, even the most terrifying dreams, they're still dreams, they are you. And then I have no fear. And then he says, I'm not bound. I'm not bound by duty. I'm not bound to a particular set of people, particular property. No, I regard myself as the one being in which the whole universe appears. You may be, this particular body of this particular person may be in a family, maybe with a work situation with children, grandchildren, all of that. That's perfectly all right. But I'm not this particular person. I'm not just this wave. Don't call this wave I. Call the ocean I. So then he says, think all are God to me. You see the same divinity in all beings. All of them there. They are all, what you are experiencing are waves in the same ocean that I am. I am the ocean in which all of these beings are waves. Think of the joy of loving all beings as God. If you squeeze your orange in this way and get 10,000-fold more out of it, get every single drop. So this is Atmana vindate viryam. From the self is attained strength or potency or fitness. Two interpretations. One is the preliminary, fourfold qualifications are necessary to attain enlightenment. And that is followed by vidyaya vindate amritam. Enlightenment will come and reveal to us our pre-existing immortality. Or the second interpretation, knowledge does not make you immortal. The overcoming of mortality, overcoming of fear, overcoming of limitation, which Vivekananda mentioned to Ingersoll, all that comes, the strength for that comes from the Atman. The crucial indication to us what is the nature of an enlightened person. The enlightened person is such that what we call the person, is not a person anymore from their perspective. They do not depend upon their enlightenment, so-called enlightenment. They're free of it. The enlightenment has set them free. They're free in their own nature as that ocean of existence, consciousness, bliss. They can relax. It's a cosmic relaxation. So, um, so that is the second interpretation. And since the knowledge gives you this, that's why the Upanishad says knowledge gives you immortality, not literally. The self is immortal and the self gives you immortality. Itself overcomes the problem of mortality. Now the next mantra and the last mantra in this chapter, chapter 2. Iha cheda vedita satyamasti no chediha vedit mahati vinashti bhuteshu bhuteshu vichitya dhira pretyasmad lokad amrita bhavanti. Translation: if one has realized here, then there is truth. If he has not realized here, then there is great destruction. The wise ones, having realized Brahman in all beings and having turned away from this world, become immortal. Shankaracharya introduces this. This verse gives us the result. In Sanskrit, phala, the result of enlightenment. One might ask the question of, after all this, seeing Brahman in every experience, so what? What do I get out of the whole thing? Here, Shankaracharya introduces this mantra. He talks about, graphically, about suffering. Kashta khalu sura nara tiryak pretadishu samsara dukkha bahuleshu prani nikayeshu janma jara marana rogadi samprapti ajnanat ataha. He says, indeed it is sorrowful, indeed it is verily full of pain, this worldly existence, this transmigration. Being born into various bodies, nara, a human body, tiryak, animal bodies of all kinds, from the biggest to the tiniest animals and creatures and plants. Sura, heavenly bodies, born as gods in heavens. Preta, existing in the intermediate states as ghosts. So, kind of Halloween existence. All of these are all afflicted. Samsara dukkha bahuleshu, by endless sorrow of pain. He talks about janma jara marana rogadi. Disease is sorrow, roga. Jara, old age is sorrow. Marana, death is sorrow. And as the source of all of these, birth is also sorrow. All of these. I mean, even the physical act of being born, people will celebrate, parents and society celebrates a birth. But for the child, it's traumatic, the one who's being born. So birth, death, traumatic, disease, old age, these are the biggies. But their life is constantly surrounded. If everything goes well, the existentialists will tell you, you all still have existential angst, that we still have complaints. Nothing is quite perfect for us. And that's honest, because if all my demands are satisfied, I still don't feel happy. And I'm surprised. Why don't I feel happy? So, suffering from the gross, difficult, the big ones, old age, disease, death, trauma, and then all kinds of physical, emotional sufferings, all kinds of social struggles, all of that. So, samsara dukkha bahuleshu, prani nikayeshu, in all the existences of sentient beings. Suffering is a constant. It's only the very young or the very unreflective who are not aware of this fact. There is a saying, I've forgotten the Sanskrit original, it says, to those who are sensitive, to those who think, everything is suffering. Everything is, like he says, like a spider's web, which is so thin and insubstantial, but you feel it if it touches your eyeball. So the eyeball is very sensitive. So even if a thin spider's web touches it, you feel it immediately. Similarly, All the way the samsara afflicts us is felt like that by those who are sensitive. They feel afflicted, aggravated by every experience in the world. Those, we are more crude, we don't think much about it, we sort of sail through life unreflectively. But for the reflective, for the thoughtful, they notice the trouble we are in, the ocean of transmigration, this bhavasagara. They notice that. One doubt here might be, you mentioned the heavenly births, being born in heaven. So Janma, Jara, Marana, so you are in heaven. So heaven is supposed to be fun. There are all multiple levels, layers of heavens. The Vedas themselves speak about it. Hinduism, Buddhism, in fact, all religions have some idea of heaven. Even Buddhism, Jainism, which do not talk about God, have conceptions of heaven, nice places to go to. Not the spiritual heaven, but the lower heavens. So what about that? Why should there be any suffering there? Well, that also has suffering because it has an end. It has an end. One might get into heaven because of good karma, but when your karma credit runs out, you are tossed out. You're deported. You're just put on a plane and sent back to the world again. So that's the problem with heaven also. Also, in heaven, it seems the gods have another problem, that is jealousy. So what if you are a multi-billionaire? There is somebody above you. So you are jealous of that. So there are multiple layers of heavens. So what if you have no suffering, everything is wonderful, but there are somebody for whom life is even more wonderful. So that is suffering because somebody else is better off than me. Some god in that heaven is more powerful than me. Anyway, so even the heavens are not, Swarga, heavens are not free of suffering. And therefore Shankaracharya says, oh, he mentions, so this is suffering, this is great suffering indeed. Where does it come from? Ajnanat, ignorance. Didn't you just say we get all these bodies because of our karma? That is true. Because of our good and bad karma. Good karma, you go to heaven after death. Bad karma, you tumble into hell, become a ghost or something, or into lower animal births. Mixed karma, you become a human being again. So it is because of karma, that is true. But behind karma is desire. We want. With that wanting, that limited wanting, these are the things I want. And those are the things I want to avoid. Because of that limited kind of wanting, I engage in karma. This is called sakama karma, karma done with desire. And this karma sets into motion the most powerful mechanism in Maya, which is called causality. Causality. It's the wheels of Maya, they grind, and they grind exceedingly fine, and they crush us over lifetimes. So Vivekananda says, do not want. Not because you will not get it. You will get everything that you want, but precisely because you will get it. You are prolonging the torture, stretching it out. Everything you want, you'll eventually get it. And in the process, you will suffer and suffer and suffer. And when you do get it, you'll realize, I don't want it. It's no good to me, really. So behind karma, the source of karma is desire, kama. But desire, why is there desire at all? The source of desire is ignorance, ajnana, ignorance of our real nature as this ocean of existence consciousness bliss. The ocean of existence consciousness bliss, we do not know that, ajnana, ignorance. From that comes kama, desire. And from that comes karma. And from that comes multiple lives, birth and death, and all these bodies and heavens and hells and earths and so on and so forth. This is the idea of samsara. This is the wheel of samsara, and the motor which is spinning this wheel is causality, karma, cause and effect. And the root cause of it all is ajnana, ignorance. That is removed by vidya, knowledge, which Vedanta provides us, knowledge of our already pre-existing immortal free nature. And Shankaracharya says, ataha, therefore, iha chedavedit, if this is realized. Now he says, iha. Iha means here. Very important. Here, in this life, in this body, as this person, investigate. For what you are looking for is right here. It is the ear of the ear, eye of the eye. It is the mind of the mind. It is the tongue of the tongue. It's right here. It is you. In this very life, it has to be investigated and found. Religions, all very good, but they do us a disservice when they postpone it to after death. No, it has to be found out here. And the Upanishad says full realization, immortality, freedom is to be found here. Iha chet, aved it, if you know, if you realize it, if you know it or realize it. This knowledge and realize, Vivekananda says in one place, in Advaita Vedanta, knowledge is realization. It's one of the rare places. Otherwise, everywhere else, he will say, you have to practice, you have to do this, you have to do this yoga, that yoga, and all of that. He says, here, knowledge is realization. In inspired talks, he has said. He was translating the Avadhuta Gita. So this knowledge which we are getting from the Upanishad, this is deepened into realization. It may take time, years and years, but it deepens into realization if you stay with it. So he says here, iha, in this life, do it now. What do you have to do? Aved it, if you realize, if you know. Literally it means if you know. How do you know? Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Systematically engage with Vedanta, listen to Vedanta, think about it, and then meditate on the knowledge so gained. Then one realizes. Aved it, one realizes. There he uses the word if. If. Chet. Iha chet. If. Showing that there is a choice here. We can continue to float in our default mode. Go through life every day, one day after another, day and day as it goes on. And then this life will soon be over. It's all being driven by the unseen forces of causality. Every cause set into motion will have an effect. Every action has a reaction, spread over lifetimes and lifetimes of sorrow and suffering. So you can drift along if you want. But if we have the time and the opportunity and the grace to be exposed to this knowledge, take it seriously, make it a reality, make our lives blessed. This life, and Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism also makes a big deal out of human birth. And human birth alone, it is possible. And all other births, technically, because you don't have the opportunity, the intellectual apparatus, none of those things work. The Vedanta classes and all that, if you are a bird or a rabbit or something. So, in this life, in this human birth, then what will happen? Atha satyam asti. Hence, there will be, literally it means satyam means truth will be there, reality is there. Remember, Vedanta says this limitless ocean of existence consciousness is the reality. The world is an appearance. Vivekananda, we just read, he said, you are that real existence. All else is but a dream. Atha satyam asti. For the first time, reality will be revealed to you. And this word satyam, Shankaracharya gives 4 meanings, he says in his commentary. Satyam, Avinasha, Arthavatta, Sadbhava va, Paramarthata va, Satyam Vidyate. So first of all, he says Paramarthata, ultimate reality is revealed to you, Brahman. That itself should be the most worthwhile goal. I want to know the secret of it all. Ultimate reality, Brahman. Not this transactional reality, Vyavaharika. Not the illusion of dreams and errors, Pratibhasika, but Paramartha, ultimate reality, Brahman will be revealed to you. So that's one meaning. 3 other meanings. He says Avinasha, which means indestructibility. Then he says Arthavatta, and then he says Sadbhava. Now, a sub-commentator has explained, has given some worldly meanings to these. So Avinasha means a long, long life. You will be blessed with long life. Arthavatta means plenty of money. So you'll be blessed with great wealth. And Sadbhava, you'll be a holy person, highly revered. That sounds suspiciously like a cult leader or somebody who will be very revered, has plenty of money or stuff like that, all the goodies in the world. No, that's not what is meant. Usually, why he has done that, the sub-commentator, is because in the Vedic style is that when a meditation is prescribed, the results are prescribed that you go to heaven, but also some worldly benefits are mentioned. And these worldly benefits are, in the Vedic style, is what is called Arthavada. Arthavada means praise, encomiums, praise of the knowledge. This knowledge which has been given till now, It's done, completed. Teaching has been completed. This is being praised. May you have, so you, the one, the glorious one, this is the glory of that knowledge. You are the glorious one with self-realization. You are the Brahmagyani. May you have long life, a prosperous life. May all go well for you. And you will be regarded, your fame will be in all the quarters as a saintly person. Um, or you can give spiritual meanings to this, which I think was Shankaracharya's intent. Atha satyam asti. Reality is there for you. What does it mean? Avinasha. You attain immortality. You go beyond destruction, birth and death. You attain to immortality. Arthavatta in the sense not of wealth, but of the sense of meaning, of fulfillment. Finally, life has meaning. Finally, you have come to the crux of it all. You've got to the, what the whole thing was for. Lifetime after lifetime. You can heave a sigh of relief, of great fulfillment. One Vedantic master says, enlightenment gives you what? When you have enlightenment, you have the sense of having done what life is meant for. Life is not meant for playing with toys. Life is not meant for relationships or marriage, or life is not meant for having children. Life is not meant for getting a degree, earning a job, winning an election, earning millions of dollars, or even for climbing the mountains or going to the moon. All those are good. They're part of the process. Life is meant for self-realization, for attaining the infinite, attaining God. That you have got. You have done what has to be done in life. You have got what has to be gotten in life. You have known what has to be known in life. So this is called arthavatta. Having known reality, having gotten infinity, and having done what is to be done in human life, that is to attain enlightenment and God realization. So that is called arthavatta, the ultimate fulfillment. Ultimate fulfillment. You're truly blessed. Then sadbhava. You are a sadhu. You are a holy person, truly for the. This is where holiness comes from, enlightenment. All the rest, those who are so-called holy people, you are all trying to, aspiring towards holiness and saintliness. But this is true saintliness, having attained enlightenment, freedom, God realization. So you are sadbhava, holiness. And of course, as I mentioned, paramarthata, ultimate reality is revealed to you. You have reached Brahman. You know this, basically you know the secret of the universe. A gentleman here in the Vedanta Society of New York, many decades ago, there was Swami Pavitranandaji, a very holy, very enlightened, great Swami. So I heard it was said about him that on the Upper West in Manhattan lives this old man who has who knows the secret of the universe in a brownstone on the Upper West Side of New York. Somebody said about him. So that's what you will be, that person who knows the secret of the universe. Paramarthata. Satyamasti. This is the meaning of there is truth. For the first time, you're living in reality. The rest are all dreaming or sleepwalking through life. And suppose you do not realize this, what's the downside? What do I lose? Nachediha vedit mahati vinashti. If one does not realize this, one does not become enlightened here in this life, great is the loss. Great means infinite is the loss. What is the gain from this? Infinite is the gain. You're gaining Brahman, infinite life, eternal life. And if I do not realize it, yes, I am Brahman. I will not die, but I will still go through the cycle of birth and death. I will not transcend mortality. So great is the loss. And Shankaracharya has pointed it out. Human births, animal births, even the births of devatas, gods, the births of ghosts and demons, that will continue. A train of suffering. So great is the loss, enormous is the loss. How do you become enlightened? He's just summarizing the whole method of Pratibodha Viditam Matam. He says, Bhuteshu Bhuteshu Vichitya Dhira. In every being, in myself and in all beings, you recognize this one existence, one awareness. The body is in the category of this, the mind is in the category of this, personality is in the category of this. I am that which witnesses, illumines this. So, Bhuteshu Bhuteshu Vichitya Dhira, having inquired into our own existence and in seeing the same reality everywhere in all beings, the same consciousness shining forth. It's not a little glimmering consciousness in this one body mind. It is that sun of consciousness shining through all these are like windows. These are like waves in the ocean. I am none of these waves. I am the ocean itself. Pretya smad lokad amrita bhavanti. Dhiraha. Again, dhira means the qualified ones. The fourfold qualification. It is necessary for getting enlightenment, and after enlightenment, it is necessary for manifesting that enlightenment in our day-to-day life. Vivekananda says, my goal in life can be put in a few words. It is to preach unto humanity their inner divinity and how to make it manifest in every movement of life. To live it, to make it manifest in our thought, in our speech, in our action, in our relationships with others, to make that divinity, that holiness manifest. The fourfold qualifications are most useful. Otherwise, we will struggle. There will be the knowledge, but there will be the body mind pushing back. So the fourfold qualifications, they help us to manifest. The fourfold qualifications are there. You are a saint. You are a Jivan Mukta. Pretya Asmad Loka. Literally, it means transcending this world. Two meanings. First of all, Asmad Loka means here from this body-mind complex. We transcend it. While being in this body-mind complex, you're quite sure that this is a wave in the ocean that I am. I am not the body, I am not the mind. I am that which is shining through the body and mind. So I transcend the body-mind here and now, and I'll be a Jivan Mukta. And after the death of this body, and the Upanishads say, what about the mind? Will it continue to other lives? No, it will not. Mundaka Upanishad told us, in the case of the enlightened one, when this body dies, the 5 elements in the body go back to nature. The 5 elements which constitute, subtle elements which constitute the mind, they also fall apart. They go back to nature, releasing you from the cage of body-mind forever. So that is the second meaning of Pretya Smart Loka. When actually the body of the Jivan Mukta dies, the enlightened one it's called Videha Mukta, bodiless liberation. This is all our calculation, by the way. From the enlightened one's perspective, the moment he realizes Pratibodha Viditam Matam, done. It has become the entire ocean, or realizes I am the ocean. The continuance of that little wave, whether that little wave is going to be a Jivan Mukta wave or a Videha Mukta wave, all those are calculations for the other little waves. But from the enlightened one's perspective, it's of no account at all. So this is the end of the second chapter. Third chapter will start. So the second chapter has been particularly intense. I mean, the whole ride, it has been quite a bit of a ride. This short Upanishad, but you can see how many dramatic twists and turns. It's like the roller coaster in amusement parks. So very high, going up and down at breakneck speed. At every verse, every mantra, there is a sudden dramatic turn. So it's been a very intense thing, culminating with Pratibodha Viditam Matam. In every experience, Brahman, the infinite, is revealed to us. Now it's time to relax. So now it's story time. The next chapter will be a story. And the third chapter is a story. There'll be gods and demons. It's more like Marvel comics or DC comics. There's superpowers, and there are fights, special effects, all of that. A lot of fun. And then the final chapter will conclude with a few practices, meditations. That's it. The real work is already done. The core teaching has been given, and it's been wrapped up actually in the last class, but today also, with whatever final points which have to be mentioned, has been done. The essential teaching of the Kena Upanishad is over. Now, the next story, which we will see next time, the story which will come up of gods and demons, one interpretation is the story is there, it's Vedanta for dummies. So you're still not enlightened. All this talk, if you're thinking, what's all this? The one who knows it does not know it. The one who does not know it knows it. It is known to those who do not know. It is unknown to those who know. And in every experience, it is known. Earlier, it was said, it's not something that is seen, heard, smelled, tasted, touched. It is that which sees, hears, smells, tastes, touches. And now it is being said that in every experience, it is revealed. All of this sounds very paradoxical and confusing. Well, all right. The same teaching will now be given as a story, an exciting story. So that story will come next time. And you'll see how tightly knit, in spite of all these dramatic changes and swerves, how tightly knit the Upanishad is. All the Upanishad is doing throughout is answering that first question. By what light does one see, hear, speak, breathe? What is that light within us? That's all that's being answered throughout. All right. Let me just do the peace chant and then take a couple of questions. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. All right. Swayampreet says Sri Aurobindo talked about evolution of human consciousness. Consciousness Nishkriya, how can it evolve? It can't. So what Sri Aurobindo is talking about is the consciousness he is talking about is the consciousness involved in the mind. So what we might call the Chidabhasa, the reflected consciousness, as the mind evolves. So the consciousness seems to evolve. After all, that's here's a point there. If we don't go into Vedanta, if we just look at it from our common sense or generally through philosophy or psychology, it does seem that your consciousness is different from mine. A bird's consciousness is different from a dog's consciousness, is different from a fish's consciousness. When we have done so much of Vedanta that we immediately divide it and say, no, 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 Swami, that's not true. Consciousness is one. The bird, the fish, and the human being, they have different subtle bodies, and the subtle bodies are different parts of the subtle body which are active. Therefore, they get different experiences, different sense organs, different bodies. That's why it seems to be different. But just the awareness, the illumination, the light in all of them is the same light, same consciousness. So that doesn't evolve. You're right. But that consciousness, along with the mind, it evolves. The mind evolves. Vivekananda says it's like this. If you have a background, the sky, and you have a cardboard with a hole in it, when you see through the cardboard, you're seeing just a little bit, and you widen the hole, you'll see more and more and more. Now, if you say the sky is evolving, the sky is expanding, that's not really true. But practically, it seems to be like that. And that's what Aurobindo means. Girish says, is Brahman realization always preceded by so-called dark night of the soul? Otherwise, it's spiritual crisis or deep existential questioning necessary first step. Generally, yes. By the way, the dark night of the soul, it's used in that sense, but if you read the original Christian theology, it's actually a very advanced stage of spiritual experience, of mystical evolution, actually. But anyway, what you are saying is right. A spiritual crisis or existential questioning is necessary. We must awaken from this dream. Otherwise, we float along. We don't see any necessity for anything else. That it's a great loss if we are not enlightened. Mahati vinashti, which the Upanishad says, that does not seem to be so. What is it that I gain by becoming enlightened? What is it that I lose by not being enlightened? Only the enlightened one knows. For the rest of us, all right, I can take it or leave it. If I have time, I'll give it a try, give it a spin, and try to be enlightened. But even if I'm not enlightened, it seems to be all right. Uh, One monk joked in our monastery many decades ago, as sitting, a very humorous Swami. He said, after a lot of, when the monks sit together and have tea, it's mostly either it's a lot of philosophical Vedantic discussion or sometimes quarreling about philosophical points, Vedantic points, or sometimes it's solving the problems of the entire world, sitting over a cup of tea. Who should do what? And the monk was very humorous. Every day he would say, now that we have solved the problems of the world, let's go. Um, so one day he said, well, after all this Vedanta, anyway, as long as I have my cup of tea and a bed to sleep in, it's all right. Uh, because if I don't really feel the problem, and I don't see what is gained by enlightenment, and I don't see what is lost by not being enlightened. Upanishad says you gain infinity by infinite is your gain, and infinite equally is your loss if you are not enlightened in this life. Greatest loss. So it requires a crisis to push us out of it. Now, you might say, but I haven't had a crisis. I've always been interested in spiritual life. Well, you're lucky. You probably had the crisis in an earlier lifetime, and you've already started. Many of us, we have already started on the spiritual path in earlier lifetimes. Very few of us are beginners. One monk confided to me, humorous again, a different monk. He said to me once, he whispered to me, Many of you are holy people. You have been spiritual seekers in many lifetimes. But I know for certain, I wasn't even a human being in the past birth. I was probably a buffalo or something like that, an animal. And I've straight away become a monk. So my advancement is greater than yours. You have evolved over lifetimes. I've jumped straight from being a brute to a spiritual person. Rick says, regarding holding on to Brahman, it seems that so many supposedly enlightened people end up misbehaving. Padmasambhava said, although my awareness is as vast as the sky, my attention to karma is as fine as the grain of a barley flour. Yes, very beautiful. So he seems to be suggesting that although Brahman may be self-sustaining, the enlightened person's behavior is not automatically impeccable. One must remain vigilant. That is true. It was very beautifully said by Padmasambhava. And another Buddhist master mentioned, I like those warnings. It is true that you and your guru are the same reality. It is true. But never forget to show respect to your guru. It is true that with eyes open and eyes closed, it is the same reality. But never miss your meditation. It is true that what is in the city is also, what is in the forest is also in the city. But never miss a chance for a retreat. So those are the warnings. Here, Vivekananda says exactly what Rick has mentioned. Vivekananda makes a point here. With the axe of knowledge, sever the wheels of mind and body from the Atman. So imagine the Atman there, it's rolling along this cart. The cart or the wheels are the mind and body. You cut it, cut the axle, sever it, and it will stand free, even though the old momentum carries on the wheels of body and mind. You can continue for some time, you'll be called the Jivan Mukta, but you are free of body and mind. Then he says, but the wheels can now only go straight, can only do good. If that body or mind does anything bad, know that the man is not a Jivan Mukta. He lies if he makes the claim. It is only when the wheels have got a good straight motion from cleansing the mind that the axe can be applied. So another sadhu said, छोड़ोगे तो सही, लेकिन साफ करके छोड़ो. Yes, you're going to let go of this limited dwelling of this body mind, but clean it up before you let go. And Vivekananda says the axe of knowledge can be applied only when the motion has been straightened. The body mind's motion is straightened. That means you're on the path of dharma. In a crooked life, that axe will not cut through. Ramya says the immortality mentioned here comes from the Atman. He is what is also meant by transcending mind once knowledge reveals the truth. Immortality mentioned here coming from Atman is what it also means by transcending mind once knowledge reveals the truth. Yes, I guess so, if I understand you correctly. Mary Eli says, after the first four qualifications, what comes next? You said easily, mumukshutvam, intense desire for freedom. Because otherwise we feel that, I really don't have that intense desire for enlightenment. Yes, that's all right. We have some desire. But if I intensify the first three, the desire for enlightenment or freedom will be intensified. Michael Bird says, how do I know that the understanding of my true self, Brahman, is just a thought in the mind, as opposed to something I'm truly witnessing outside of my mind as objective reality? The understanding of my true nature, of Brahman, is certainly in the mind. But Brahman is not the mind. So what you are witnessing, yes, that's an understanding. But what does that understanding reveal to you? It reveals to you Brahman or Atman, which is independent of the mind, which is the witness of the mind. For example, I look at right now I can see my reflection, my face in the screen. There's a little box in which I can see my own face. Now, that face is certainly in the screen. But what is it revealing to me? It's revealing to me my own real face, which I can't see. I can't see my own real face directly. I can only see the reflection I can only see the picture in the screen. That picture, which is certainly in the screen, which is certainly not my real face, but it is revealing to me my real face, and it's showing me it's here. Similarly, the enlightenment that flash in the mind, that realization, Brahmakara Vritti, which is in the mind, but it reveals to you something beyond the mind, which is you. And then it's very clear. Then the axe has been applied. Then the wheel of the mind can roll off by itself. You're fine with it. It's as clear as that separation. Peter says our sense organs, eyes, ears, is the bridge between the physical world and pure consciousness. Yes, sense organs, physical world, and pure consciousness. And the mind in between is a subtle world of mind. So there is a physical world, and there's a world of the senses, which is both outward and inwards. It brings information from outside into the inside of this body mind. In the mind is the inner world of subtle world. But all of it is the world to consciousness. Into you, the awareness, that world out there, this sensory world, the body and the mind, they all are appearances to you, in you, and Vedanta says they are nothing but you, like a dream, for example. Priya says, what is the difference between the anavritti and jivan mukti? Are they the same? Anavritti means the one who does not come back, if it's in that sense. And jivan mukta also, that is true. Jivan mukta is the one who is free in this very life itself, attained to realization, I am Brahman, and will not be born again in future life, generally. And anavritti, I suppose, that is in that sense, if you use. Bhargavateja says, Maharaj, can you repeat the example? The world appears and the self reflects and becomes the false self. Where did I say this? Is Bhargavateja here? Do you remember where I said this?
Yes, Maharaj. In last before class, you mentioned about you taking that from a book.
The Changde Pashashti. That is by Sant Gyaneshwar.
Yes, yes.
Yes. There, um, he he says, the world appears and Shiva is hidden. When Shiva appears, the world disappears. Meaning thereby, this world itself is that one existence consciousness. Because when it is recognized to be what it truly is, it is one divinity. It's not recognized, and then it's the world. That might be one meaning. Another meaning is samadhi. If you are absorbed in existence consciousness bliss, then the world will disappear in samadhi. You have no experience of the world, of the body, of the mind. You remain as that one light. But when you come to this world again, that one light seems to disappear, but it is now existing as this display in before you, this world, this magical display. Is that what you meant? There was another example which I used, if that's the one, the mirror example. It says, when the mirror appears before you, then the original face becomes the reflected face.
Yes,
The face in the mirror becomes the reflection, and the mirror is the reflector.
Yeah.
Now, nothing has happened to the original face. The original face has now just got a new name, the reflected face, the face which is being reflected. The face which is being reflected, it's got a new name, but nothing actually has happened to it. So, when the body, mind, and the universe appears, the self, it now appears as the reflected consciousness in that body, mind. And you remain as the witness consciousness. But nothing really has happened to you. You are that witness consciousness. You are the self. You are Atman or Brahman. Vivekananda gives a nice, more direct example. He says, in a pinhole, in a cardboard, you're looking at the background, a sky beyond. You see a tiny bit. You see almost totally wrongly. You see it very small, not at all much of what is there. But the crucial point he's saying, you are seeing the sky. You're not seeing something else. So similarly, when I say I am pure consciousness, and in the mind there is reflected consciousness, but the reflected consciousness is also pure consciousness. It's just through the pinhole of the mind I am experiencing myself, but I am experiencing pure consciousness. So in that sense, if you identify the reflected consciousness with the mind and body, then you are looking at the face which is in the mirror. If you realize that the reflected consciousness is nothing but pure consciousness, moonlight is nothing but sunlight, then you're talking about this face, not the face there. Yes, in that sense. All right. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.